What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to YGOPD, your Yu-Gi-Oh! Professional Development, and today I have an updated Mathmech deck profile to share with you. Anytime I can revisit the best one-card starter and engine in the game that is circular, I will take the excuse. It's absolutely incredible. To give you an Omni Negate plus a Send 3 on your opponent's turn is just insane. If tier ever gets hit, this deck is going back in the forefront for sure. I really love it. I've been trying to find a way to insulate it from the Bystials, and I think I've found a way to play through a few combos and a few examples that does that. So I'll go ahead and showcase the deck profile, the extra deck, and then some combos with it. And then before we get started, I just want to say thank you to all my wonderful new subs that have joined the channel. Again, I will do a public shout out when I return in a couple weeks from vacation. I am currently out, but wanted to make sure that this still comes out scheduled to all of you. So with all that said, we'll go ahead and hop right into it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hop right into it. We're going to start out with our main starter and main combo piece himself, 3 circular. This is amazing by himself. Essentially produces so much on its own. I'll showcase that combo after. At minimum, it's getting you a Send 3 plus an Omni Negate, plus typically maybe an IP follow-up all by itself. So with that, we pair these extenders. We are pretty much maxing out on every name possible, just because that alone also helps you insulate through cards like Bystial. Just to have the spare extender makes things so much easier. 3 Sigma, this is what you're sending off circular to bring itself back and get your full combo started. And then obviously 3 addition, pretty straightforward there. And then 3 subtraction. Addition and subtraction special summon themselves, lock you into Cybers, and then respectively either increase or decrease a monster's attack on the field by 1,000. That works for your stuff or your opponent's stuff. So that's the main extenders there. And then the last one, of course, is Diameter, the heavy hitter. That definitely needs a holo reprint at this point. Is your essentially Wolf Bark, a very old reference there, but normal summon it, bring back a Mathmech from the grave, and then you can essentially use it for an Exceed. If this is used for an Exceed, then the turn it is summoned, it gets an Omni Negate for that turn only. So moving on to the additional extenders, 3 Parallel Exceed. This is literally just 3 extra names. Which is really nice and facilitates a lot by itself. If you want to play Format Skipper, you can, but again, Diameter as the normal summon is just something I really prefer. And then 3 more names in terms of Signet Mining. So that's right there. And then rounding it off is we just play the 1 Super Factorial. So in all, we have literally 21 different quote-unquote names here that get us to either a level 4 or a rank 4 by themselves. So that gives you like right around that 95% chance of seeing at least one of them going first and an 85% chance of seeing at least 2 of them going first. So your chances of ensuring that you have that starter plus extender or 2 extenders is really high, and that's what matters the most in this deck. So that's literally the entirety here, plus the factorial, that's 22, and then we have 18 flex spots that we can tool around with. You can do whatever you want, different hand traps, things like that. I'm on a few different packages that I think are just pretty standard for the meta right now. Starting off with that are the Bystials. So we play 3 Magnum, pretty standard. This card is absolutely insane. Just having board presence, things to link away with an IP on the field is really good. And in line with that, we just also play 3 Druid's Worm. If you want to play Soronir, you can, but these 6 I think are just the mainstay staples of the format right now. Not much to say. They're just incredible hand traps, and they synergize with your deck if you really do need to trigger them on your own. But overall, still really solid cards there. And then we also play the Adventure Package. This is the other way that we are insulating our combo going first, is we just have the ability to play the Adventure stuff because your normal summon isn't really going to matter. The extender isn't going to matter at that point. Diameter is just to get the 3rd name on board. If you don't see the Adventure Package, you can most certainly go ahead and just use it. That's perfectly fine. But otherwise, this is just another way to insulate your plays. So we do the 3 Right, 3 Enchantress, and then of course the 1 Dracoback, the 1 Fateful, the 1 Griffin, and then the honorary Brave card in 1 Foolish Burial. I've leaned away from this every now and then, but in decks where you get additional value in this, like being able to dump Sigma if you don't see it, is also a good utility if you already have the Brave cards in your hand. And then the last 2 are just double Fenrir. Again, an all-around, powerful starter that just does so much in this format is really good. If you don't like the Foolish Burial, you can always just cut it and play a 3rd Fenrir. But again, 3 is fine, but 2 I kind of prefer. I don't like opening 2, so that's why I have 2 in here. But that is it for the main deck, a clean 40 cards. Going on to the extra deck, we'll start with the Exceeds actually this time, then we'll work our way down from the links. But with the Exceeds, we play 2 Alimbertion. Since this is obviously a little bit more of a pure build, you want more Xyz. So you have 2 Alimbertion and 2 Laplation. Alimbertion is your searcher. Laplation is your interruption piece. Typically, you're making one of these just by hard making it with enough bodies on board, or one is obviously off of the superfactorial. And then Xyz will not be complete without Zeus. You have a bunch of them on the field. There's no reason not to have this guy. Yes, you're typically locked into Cyberse, but even with a card like Parallel Exceed, linking into something like Almirage or Lingaribo, you have the ability to kind of extend and insulate a Zeus if you really, really need to. I think since you have the flex spots, there's no reason not to play at least one of them. And then links, obviously the king of all Cyberse link monsters, access code, nothing much to say there. 1 transcode and 1 Heat Soul. Heat Soul, I think, is a little bit cuttable just because we're not playing a ton of hand traps. Yes, we are playing 6 Bystials, but it's not really needed. If you wanted to change this out for something else, I would recommend potentially an Apollosa, because you can go into Apollosa for 2. A lot of the time with IP is an additional interruption if you so choose. But yeah, Heat Soul, still really good. Draw 2, 1 every turn is really, really nice. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, again, mainly here for the IP play. Speaking of that, on the Link 2s, we do play the 1 IP, the 1 Update Jammer for the access code OTK, and 1 Cyberse Wicked. This is another way that we insulate getting names. There are a few Mathmechs in here that are tuners. I believe Diameter and Sigma, if I remember correctly, are both tuners. So this being able to search that is really, really important. Typically, your end board can insulate under having this with an IP and then the factorial set. So you have 3 interruptions off the factorial plus the negate. So that's 4 plus potentially 5 on IP, 6 if you want to count both Apollosa negates as opposed to a unicorn. And then the last link to here is going to be 1 Splash Mage. Again, just something where if hands are a little bit awkward, it just lets you climb up a little bit easier. And then the link ones are pretty straightforward. 1 Disciple and 1 Devotee. Pretty standard there for that combo play, and then 1 Lingaribo to help insulate from infinite impermanence. You could play any Link 1 here, Almirage, different things like that, but Lingaribo is probably the objectively best choice in this case. So that is it for the main deck. That is it for the extra deck. I'll go ahead and hop into a quick combo. Okay, we'll go ahead and hop into the quick combo example. This is essentially how you insulate yourselves from a piece of interaction dealing with the graveyard. That could be a Bystial, DD Crow, Ghost Spell, Called by the Grave, whatever. All you really are going to need is Circular as your primary starter, and then 1 of these additional names in your hand. Mining, Diameter, Addition, Subtraction, or Sigma. Reminder that we play 3 of each of these, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. That's already over a 90% chance of seeing just 1 of these in our opening hand going first. You could even use a second copy of Circular as just a normal summon, but ideally you want a different name, so that's why these are here. You can also use Parallel Exceed. However, the combo that utilizes this is going to be slightly different, so I'll just showcase that after this separately. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to showcase it with Circular plus either one of these. I think that's the easiest just way to get across a basic example. So we'll go ahead and put everything back, and then we'll just showcase how this is going to work. We'll put our hand down here in terms of the subtraction, and we'll just go ahead and activate our Circular from our hand. We're going to send a copy of the Sigma from our deck to grave, just like normal. Special that Circular, and then we would activate Sigma and say, here is where we get Bystial. So that goes away, and now the question is, how do we get to 3 names? That's going to start off with subtraction, hitting the field by targeting Circular. Circular's effect will then trigger. We will still get a trap from our deck to our hand, so we'll add the factorial. And then I'll just put this here to note that we do have 3 additional cards that we are working with, whether that's a Bystial, a Fenrir, the Adventure Package. Obviously, that could have made things a little less relevant, but regardless, just know that we have 3 additional cards, and these are the 2 cards we are starting with. From there, we'll go ahead and overlay these 2 into a copy of our Alimbertion. Go ahead, throw him down on the board, and use his effect on summon, detaching 2 as cost to go ahead and search an additional name. And in this case, we're going to get Diameter. So we'll go ahead and grab that. And if you want to make it a little bit more simplified, you don't have to get Diameter in this case, but we're going to normal Diameter, and we specifically would want to target the subtraction just in case they have another Bystial. And I'll go ahead and even give that example and take it 1 step further. Say they have a second Bystial and they just want to get rid of this name. That's perfectly fine. So this boy comes out here, and then what we can do is link that name off there. Go ahead and put our, let's see here, where is he? our link disciple on the board, and then we'll go ahead and do the same thing here, get rid of the diameter, and then we'll put the link devotee underneath that. And then we can use this tribute off. We would draw a card and then put a card back on the bottom of our deck, fixing our hand from something. And then we would go ahead and get 2 tokens to the field that I will go ahead and throw off, just as these 2 guys right here for now. Doesn't really matter where you put them for the sake of this example. But then what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to link these 2 off here, the Alimbertian and the Link Disciple, into an IP Masquerena. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Cyber's Wicked. IP Masquerena comes second with the 2 tokens. So those 2 tokens go away. You get IP Masquerena. Then you trigger the Cyber's Wicked, and you can add a Cyber's Tuner from your deck to your hand. So in this case, it's actually going to be the copy of Sigma that you had banished. Now on your opponent's turn, you have the ability to IP away. Go ahead and make a unicorn in this case, discarding your 3rd name, and now Super Factorial is still live to bring back 1, 2, 3 names, overlaying all 3 into a Laplacian, including the Omni Negate with diameter through 2 different grave interruptions that could be Bystial, Crow, Bell, whatever. In worst case, we're saying that both of these names are gone. How do we deal with it? That is a really easy way right there. So that's the basic way of how you kind of take things a step further. Obviously, you could do things a little bit differently if you're under the Brave package. You don't necessarily need to use Diameter's effect. You would just have 1 less body on the board and still go through it that way. But nevertheless, that's the basic idea. And then from there, what we'll go ahead and do is showcase the Parallel Exceed combo. Okay, now we'll go ahead and showcase the Parallel Exceed combo. Note this is just what you do in the same scenario, but Parallel Exceed is going to function a little bit differently because it's not necessarily a Mathmech name. But we'll start off with the same way. We have 3 other blanks in hand in addition to these 2 right here. We will special the Circular by dumping the Sigma from our deck to our grave. We'll try to activate the Sigma, say that gets Bystialed, whatever. From there, we will go ahead and link the Circular off into a copy of our Lingeribo. That will then trigger our Parallel Exceed using its effect. We'll go ahead and get another copy of Parallel Exceed. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to overlay both of these into a copy of Mathmech Alimbertian. Now, most likely, if your opponent had an imperm or something, they would use it here, and we are insulated. But this is going to be a little bit tricky because I'll showcase a little bit how things have to go. But we'll detach for the Alimbertian, and then we're just going to add a subtraction here. I'm going to save the diameter for a little bit later since we have not necessarily used our normal summon yet. And then what I'm actually going to do is trigger Alimbertian here. And you can either tribute the Lingeribo or itself. I want to tribute the Lingeribo, but just note you can still get rid of it here. I just want to clear up this zone. And we can bring back the Circular. Now, it will suck, obviously, if they have a second one here, but again, we're just showcasing at least just how we're dealing with 1 interruption. From there, we can special summon the Subtraction. Use the Circular's effect, since we specialed a name, to go ahead and get the Super Factorial. And then from here, the reason we cleared up that zone is now we still have the Disciple Devotee line, which is really, really good. So we can go ahead and get that. Sorry, my voice died a little bit there. We can go ahead and get rid of the Circular to go ahead and get a copy of Link Disciple. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of the Subtraction for Link Devotee. Again, we can go ahead, tribute, draw 1, put 1 back. Doesn't really matter here. We'll go ahead and get 2 tokens. And then it's literally the same as before. You're essentially going to get rid of these 2, cleaning up things just a little bit, into a Cyber's Wicked. And then from here, what you can do is get rid of these 2 as well. Put these back. And then you can get a copy of IP Masquerena. And then trigger the Cyber's Wicked to add a copy of Mathmech Diameter from your deck to your hand, which is really, really powerful. And now you're in the same position as before. The only difference is if you want, you could normal summon this and then link away and search another one for follow-up. But for the most part, again, you're at the same situation here, where these 2 would get linked away on your opponent's turn. You would simply just make a Nightmare Unicorn, use the Unicorn's effect, pitch the diameter, spin something back, and then Factorial is live again to bring back those 3 names in the form of Diameter, Subtraction, or whatever, and Circular to then make your Laplacian to send 3 and have an Omni Negate. So that's pretty straightforward. Those are the combos. That's the idea of how you kind of play through some of those interactions. This deck really has the flexibility to do it. I kind of just wish I paid more attention to it earlier. Of course, the Sen 3 really does still suck with tier around, but nevertheless, it's still a really cool rogue pick that I have a lot of fun with, and any excuse I get to play it, I really do enjoy it. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.